Welcome to Go Bucks. We are here live on a Sunday night. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I know everyone's probably either watching or finished watching Game of Thrones or in the middle of purchasing some Bitcoin, which everyone should be actually be doing. It's probably what Diego's doing, the Maryland guy. But in any case, Matt, we finally have the dreaded draft of the NCAA allegations against Michigan. It is like a holiday, I think, for Buckeye fans. They're just absolutely loving that. I think we only learned maybe one or two new things that popped up, but man, what do you think about all that's going on?
Well, the most interesting thing to me, aside from the allegations and the penalties, are the responses from Michigan fans on Twitter. All the major insiders that were wrong every step of the way, all of a sudden are now, like, I thought that finally, I mean, granted, this is not the official NOA, but I'm sure that's coming within a couple of days, right? Because we were supposed to get it last week, according to Vilas, but of course, the Michigan insider wrong again. And I think that everyone was just complaining. The two biggest complaints were, number one, there's a leak at the NCAA, and we even have a comment that they're going to get him for defamation. I'm like, well, first of all, you can't. There would be no defamation because that would be something that was false. These are actual allegations that are being released a little early, but it looks like it's going to be a lot worse than I thought. Like, I was worried that the majority of the allegations were going to be, just Harbaugh and all the other coaches that left for the NFL were going to get hit with the show cause, which is going to happen because they all got hit with, Harbaugh, Partridge, Robinson, Stalions all got level 1 violations. They're all going to get show causes, but that doesn't matter for the school going forward because those guys are all gone. So, at Ohio State, Tressel got hit with all the penalties, and the people that don't remember that the problem with Ohio State wasn't any of the cheating per se, because that isn't what got us the bowl ban and cost us an easy national championship win over what would have been Notre Dame in the national title game. The reason that happened was because what did Tressel do? He lied to the investigators. That's what always gets you. And so what I guess they just passed a new law this last year where, they were really going to be enforcing being forthright with the NCAA on investigations. So Harbaugh, everyone was complaining about the cheeseburger incident with the recruiting, which in and of itself is a pretty minor violation during COVID. Just talking with recruits during COVID, it's, a minor violation, but he makes minor violations into big deals because he doesn't ever cooperate with the NCAA. And so he got multiple games suspended in a national title run for something, pretty minor earlier in the year, the cheeseburger incident. And that's because he just wasn't going to play ball with the investigators. And now, again, the whole school, all the coaches, no one is, being forthright, and they're also on probation and they're repeat offenders. And the NOA is basically saying here that the school, this is where the big one is. The school faces a level 1 violation because of a pattern of noncompliance with the football program and institutional efforts to hinder or thwart the NCAA's investigation. So in my opinion, that sentence right there is what's going to really screw Michigan, because none of the stuff with, Sherrone Moore might get suspended. Maybe he'll get a show cause. I have a hard time thinking that he's going to miss much time, but I think the bigger issue is going to be the school. And if the school, because his was I think a level 2 violation, not a level 1, whereas the other coaches that all left, they knew they were deeply involved and they got the level 1s. So it's going to be, the level 1 violation for the school that's really going to set Michigan back.
Antoine's on fire. And you know what? I kind of sort of think that Buckeye fans are going to find out here real soon that Santa Claus is not real. There's going to be a huge disappointment coming, I think, for the Buckeyes. The reason I think that is because, so when I first heard the news today about the allegations, I think I saw a headline and it said, Sherrone Moore deleted 52 texts. And then I was like, oh shit. Oh shit. Like we didn't know about that because I thought that we knew everything basically. But it turns out that Sherrone did in fact delete like 52 texts as soon as he heard the news basically about not necessarily the investigation, just the news that Connor Stalions had been caught. And so he deleted those texts, but he gave them back. And you had to read pretty far down in the article, but Sherrone actually re-imaged them. That's the terminology they're using. He re-imaged them and gave them back. So I don't know if that's really considered obstruction with an investigation because the investigation hadn't even started yet. In any case, it's pretty tame. I mean, wouldn't you say, as far as that goes? Because that's really what at first had me worried, because I've been worried this whole time that there was going to be something coming down from the NCAA that we didn't know about. There was going to be some new evidence that was going to come out that was going to matter, because I honestly think that there's not, they're coming up, they're trying to force level 1 violations as much as they possibly can. And I think that we're probably seeing them kind of struggle and kind of pull these things out of their ass a little bit. And so I think that Michigan's probably going to come out of this with personally, here's my prediction. They're going to come out with a pretty hefty fine. And I think maybe there's going to be some suspensions. Sherrone might actually have to miss a game or two, something like that. Hopefully not against the Texas game, but that sounds like it's very possible if Michigan completely folds, essentially, because they're known for doing that. Whenever Michigan is hit with a violation, they generally fold. This past year was the first time I ever even heard of Michigan, the university, actually even talking about fighting. And then they didn't. Then they folded. They just talked about fighting it, and then they folded. Talking about the Jim Harbaugh 3-game suspension for the games, the Penn State, Maryland, and Ohio State. Yeah. But we'll have to see what Michigan does here. Because I really do think it would be pretty unfair to do what they did against Ohio State, where they're giving a bowl ban for and making the kids who weren't even involved, the coaches
because they lied.
Involved.
They lied. The coach lied.
But Ohio State got caught red-handed with Jim Tressel lying during the investigation. He lied directly to the investigators, and then they caught him with his emails. That's not really, none of that.
So what did Harbaugh do? So Harbaugh was asked to give the phone records, and he didn't delete them. He just didn't let them have them.
No, he let them for his Michigan phone and his Michigan computer and all that. I mean, he gave that. The university made everyone give up their university devices, computers and phones.
That's not what the report said today. They said that he didn't comply with the investigation.
No, he didn't give them his personal phone and his personal PC. And seriously, you're a lawyer. Who's ever going to do that and give up their personal computer, their Gmail for the last 20 years? Who's going to give that to the NCAA? Anyone? I mean, would you, if you had a client, would you ever tell them to just give up information that they just don't legally have to?
I would only tell them to do that see, that's the thing. I don't know what the rule is for the required compliance, because I mean, he seems like he continually gets in trouble for not complying with whatever rule is that they're asking of him. You know, he didn't comply with the cheeseburger gate, and here they're saying again that the school had a pattern of noncompliance and an institutional effort to thwart the investigation. And you had a coach also that was telling, who was it? Was it Partridge that told players not to cooperate with the investigator? I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah, he's fired. But the NCAA is going to say that because they also wanted bank accounts too. I mean,
and maybe the most important thing, Connor Stalions was actually officially on the sidelines in the CMU game.
Yeah, well,
even Michigan fans were denying that. They're like, no, it wasn't him. It wasn't. Like, no one in Michigan Twitter is acknowledging even the most basic of facts. It was fucking him. Okay, come on.
No, it's so the NCAA is basically they will, if you don't give them your own personal bank accounts, it's
there was
something
like
you do not have to
50
do.
something games, right, that he scouted. I think they said there was like 50 games, and
maybe.
like one team in 2022 with one team was scouted 6 times. Obviously, that was Ohio State.
But do you understand though the issue here? Like the university gave the NCAA access to all of the servers, all of the devices, everything that was Michigan. Jim just didn't give him his personal computer. They didn't Jim didn't say, "Oh, here's my personal computer. Here's all my email. Here are my bank accounts to look at." Then they shouldn't have ever done that. No one should ever give that up.
I know, but I don't think that I don't think they're getting the level 1 violation for not turning over personal stuff.
I think just, he did. We can look into that a little further, but
I didn't hear anything about
pretty much cooperate.
Because I heard that they did something with trying to destroy a hard drive too. It wasn't just the text messages.
Yeah, I don't know, but here's the actual. Here's from the Detroit Free Press. Yeah, here we go. The NOA draft did not provide any evidence that Harbaugh was involved in Stalions' operation or that he knew it was going on. ESPN wrote that, but did stipulate Harbaugh failed to actively search for or evaluate red flags. So essentially, right there, unless they have evidence that other coaches were involved, if they have evidence that Sherrone Moore was involved, which they don't, like, really the NCAA has almost nothing here. They're pulling together all of these, like, oh, you guys have a pattern of non-compliance because you didn't give us your own personal PC servers. And
well, I don't think it was the personal stuff.
That's what they consider cooperation, because they don't have subpoena power. They're not a government organization.
Yeah,
subpoena power.
So I want to read you this. So this is something I tweeted when it first came out. Innocent until proven guilty doesn't apply to the NCAA. The language in bylaw 11.2.1.1 was changed in January. It was changed to read, a head coach shall be held responsible for their actions and the actions of all institutional staff members. Michigan violated that bylaw. They also violated bylaw 11.6.1, which states off-campus in-person scouting of future opponents in the same season is prohibited. Stalions violated this bylaw, and Harbaugh is therefore presumed guilty under the previously cited bylaw where he is responsible for his staff members. So even if they can't tie it to Harbaugh, and he did get a level 1 violation from some of the other stuff that he did, but he would be guilty just for that too.
Hold on though.
Controlling.
There was a 3-game suspension, remember?
Yeah.
So Harbaugh, in my mind anyways, already served his
He's probably getting a 10-year. He's probably getting a 10-year no cause.
I don't know what that. I mean, I don't know where that's coming from.
He's gonna get a 10-year.
He's not
gonna be able to show cause. Sorry.
The only way that's gonna happen, in my opinion, the only way that's gonna happen is that they got more evidence on him. Because right now they have zero evidence.
They changed that bylaw. He's responsible, and there's major cheating going on.
And he was punished big time. I mean, you do agree that was a massive punishment.
When you cheat, you get like Tressel got. What did he get? 7 or 10 years?
Yeah, but that was lying directly to the NCAA, to their faces, and he got caught red-handed. Nothing like that has happened.
This is Harbaugh's second level 1 violation. He's a repeat offender now.
Yeah, but even if you combine these, it's nowhere near what Jim Tressel.
You may not think it's serious, but I'm telling you right now that he's getting at least 5 to 7 years, probably more.
And it doesn't matter; he's gone.
No, I know. I mean, honestly, that doesn't matter. I'm just saying, like, I think that's what's going to happen. I think my guess is I think he's getting a 10-year show cause, minimum 5, but I think 10 if I had to bet on it.
All right.
But so let's cut. Again, the school is getting screwed. There's going to be a lack of institutional control. I think there's going to be a bowl ban of at least 2 years. They're going to lose a bunch of scholarships, pay a $10 million fine. But the interesting thing is going to be whether any wins are vacated, because I haven't heard a whole lot of that.
Interesting. I was just, before you actually rattled that off, I was about to ask you, what do you actually think is going to happen and come from this? So you think there's going to be 2-year bowl ban. You think that that would be probably the biggest deal. Losing scholarships, not a huge deal. $10 million, a fine. That is a big deal. It's probably not a big deal to the university in itself, but it is a big deal in the sense that revenue that you generate from going to the playoffs, that's about 2 years worth. $10 million fine, that's about 2 years worth of going to the playoffs. So that's bowl revenue. 2 years of bowl revenue Michigan would be losing. So I'm sure they wouldn't be thrilled about that.
What's interesting too is, so Antoine thinks this is going to get stalled out in court forever. So all the insiders said that this was going to happen before Jim Harbaugh was going to fight it. He's not going to get suspended. And then they said that in the media for like 2 days. And then he by Wednesday of that week, they withdrew it and they let it go. So
that's
I don't
classic
think
Michigan.
I don't think they're going to fight this at all. I think they're going to want this over as quickly as possible, because guess what happens, Antoine? When this thing drags on for multiple years, how do you think that's going to affect your recruiting? It's not going to be good. You're going to want this started as quickly as possible so it gets over as quickly as possible.
See, that's the thing. What you just said right now, that's the thing. Like I'm thinking if it was a school like the SEC,
lack of institutional control is
it wouldn't take this crap. Like another school, another university wouldn't take this crap. But you're right, Michigan does. Like they roll over so easy. That's got me scared to death. That Michigan might just be like, oh goodness, like clutching their pearls and saying, oh goodness, NCAA, just tell us what we need to do to make this right. And then, they just basically give in to everything. That I am in serious fear. That has me very, very scared that Michigan's going to do that. But here's the thing though. So
read Chris's comment real quick out loud.
Okay, I'll show it. I mean, I always quickly delete all my texts when I message you.
Classic.
It is. Okay, here's the thing though. They got the texts. He ended up giving them the texts, the 52 texts. So we don't know what's in those texts. Heck, it may not have been anything about Connor Stalions. It might have been some embarrassing pictures of him or something. Who knows? But probably not. I mean, it does look really suspicious when that happens. The only thing is the NCAA has those texts. They know the content of those texts. Even though he deleted them, they've got it. And if there was anything new from those texts, we probably would.
Well, I don't think the texts are a big deal, because he was only given a level 2 violation for it. If they were bad, he would have gotten a level 1.
Yeah, cheeseburgers. Correct? Yeah, driving someone to pick up cheeseburgers is a level 2 violation. So you're right. That deleting text is not going to be a big deal at all.
Yeah.
But here's what I think. I think Michigan.
Antoine,
they're going to get a bowl ban.
A couple of things that Antoine said. He was saying that I understand the bureaucracy. So this is going way faster than I thought. I would have thought that this would have taken way longer for them to get to. The fact that the draft NOA is actually being leaked now. I mean, I guess it's possible that it's not going to happen for another 6 months, but I'm guessing that if a draft letter is already being leaked, and reported last week that it was going to be coming out soon. If this comes out in the next few weeks, like Antoine said, Michigan does have 90 days to reply to that, and then the NCAA will look at it and figure out what punishment they're going to have, and then at that point, Michigan can decide whether. And usually when they come out with these punishments, the NCAA is not just saying, okay, here's the punishment, Michigan. They're working with Michigan, being like, okay, this is what we're going to agree on together as what your punishment's going to be for you not to fight this. So they're not just going to, hand out a punishment to Michigan where Michigan is not aware of what it is. Like, they're going to work with them because it's going to be something they agree on where it's not going to have to go to court.
Yeah, so I do think that I lost my train of thought a little bit, but I do think that it's very possible that Michigan does roll over, but we will know here pretty soon, right? Because pretty soon Michigan will, if they are going to get a bowl ban, and Michigan, like, university is like, oh crap, we're going to get a bowl ban, they will probably self-inflict that probably really soon, right? They'll probably do it before the season, or they might 90 days, well, maybe into the season. They'll just say, hey, we're going to take a bowl ban right now and try to get ahead of this. But if they don't do that, then we know that they're actually planning to fight. Because, wouldn't you take a bowl ban right now in this year that Michigan has, where they're replacing 16 starters and all those coaches, and they may not even go to the playoffs anyway? And
Well, what I would do is I would wait and see how you do the first few weeks, because I mean, you do have a lot of star power on this team, and it's possible. Let's say you have new offensive linemen, new coaching staff,
well,
but
yeah,
you
that's true.
do have a good running back. A running back that's been inconsistent, but when he's good, he's as good as anyone. You have a history of a good offensive line. You have, I mean, the quarterback obviously is the big question mark, in addition to all the new offensive linemen. But your defense has the potential to be top 3 to top 5 again. And if they pull off an upset early in the year, maybe they'll beat Texas, and maybe then they'll get on a roll. So at that point, you say, okay, well, we're going to fight this a little bit longer. We'll take the full 90 days to reply. We'll try to get this thing delayed as possible. Maybe file some sort of delays and take it to court if they're having a great season. But if the season sort of falls apart on them because they have a really tough schedule this year, unlike last year, then you do what you suggested, and you do the premature bullpen. You're like, yeah, we'll take a bullpen this year. We'll get it over with because our team is bad this year, or not bad, but they're not going to be bad, but they might have 3 or 4 losses this year. I
Yeah,
think the
but
defense will keep them in most
the
of the game.
NCAA will know that happened, and they'll probably tack on another one if they wait
Yeah,
until
no,
they see if
they
they
very
suck.
well. Yeah, I know. I think, like I said, I thought they were probably going to get a couple of years. So like the only thing that I'm not sure of is, like, it seems like it could be bad enough where you could vacate wins, but I'll have to see it to believe it on the vacating of the wins.
But that's only if the university thinks that they're gonna have to take a bowl ban. I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of like my point. And it's like, we'll know if Michigan's going to get a bowl ban if they actually self-inflict one soon. I think if we
Antoine,
don't hear
they're
that
only
they do
going to
that,
fight it.
then no.
Yeah, they're only going to fight it if they were going to vacate the national
Yeah.
championship, and I don't think that's going to happen.
So let's listen to read that one. So do you guys really think that Michigan didn't do anything wrong? This isn't the Supreme Court. The NCAA doesn't need concrete proof. They're
Yeah.
allowed to just use common sense and deduce what went on. So they did do something wrong. That's not in dispute. You can't pre-scout games. That's in the rule book. I think that Michigan, in my opinion, Michigan already got punished for that. Based on the evidence they don't have any smoking gun evidence that any of the other coaches knew. They already fired Connor Stalions. They fired another coach for saying, what was his? I can't remember his name. Linebackers coach, for telling some of the players, Partridge, to don't cooperate with the NCAA or whatever he said. And then Harbaugh got a bowl ban in a year where Michigan was undefeated and about to take on their last 3 opponents that were the hardest, including Ohio State and Penn State. I think, in my opinion, just because Michigan didn't lose, they went on to win those games, and they didn't get punished by losing the game. In my opinion, that was a huge, huge punishment for something that they didn't even have any evidence on about the coach. And granted, he was punished because he is the head coach. The rule is everything that happens underneath him, he's responsible for. But he was, in fact, thoroughly punished in my opinion for this. So everything else that's happening right now with the NCAA and what they're trying to tack onto that, I think
I wouldn't say 3 games is thoroughly punished. He got 3 games for the cheeseburger. You think that this is on the same level as that?
Oh my gosh. He got 3 games from the beginning of the year, though, in those cake games. Because of the 3 games that he was suspended for, yes. Because can you imagine if they lost one of those games? They would not
what
go
I'm
to the
saying
playoffs.
is the 3
They
games
would
he got
not have been.
suspended
Everyone
for
would have said,
was
"Oh,
not
they were only
related to the
winning
cheating
because of
scandal.
Connor Stalions." Like, imagine if they lost one of those games, you would be so impossible to talk to right now for like the whole year. If Michigan lost to Penn State or Ohio State, like, how you would be saying you only won all those games because of Connor Stalions, and that's what you'd be saying, and you'd be right. I'd say the same thing.
You guys almost
Michigan
lost at
didn't
home
lose.
to Kyle McCord. So, like, the worst quarterback we've had in ages.
That's another topic, but I disagree. I think Kyle McCord would do better than pretty much all your quarterbacks this year that you've got on the roster. But I'm afraid that might bring up something brand new that we can discuss later. But In any case, so I think Michigan is going to get hit with. I think they're only going to accept some of these other punishments, like a fine, maybe a suspension, maybe a 1 game, 2 game suspension for Sherrone Moore. I don't think that we're going to get a bowl ban. I don't think that we're going to be vacating any wins. Vacating wins is what actually make the most sense, because you're being punished for the games you cheated with. That would make the most sense. And then I would lose the bet you and I made. Let's get this on the record. You and I made a bet about the hammer coming down, that if the hammer comes down, that means vacating wins. If Michigan has to vacate wins, I lose the bet, you win the bet, and I've got to sing the Ohio State fight song, and vice versa.
Yep. And also, I just wanted to reply to Antoine really quick, because that's not how the law works in agency law. So he's saying that the school can't, in order for a school to be attacked for scouting, they would have to be employees of the school. Well, the way agency law works is the employee hires somebody, and then that person is, as an agent of an employee of the school, that person can also be considered an employee. Which is why Michigan is getting in trouble for this, because if that wasn't the case, there would be no case. Because Antoine is right. You have to be an employee, but he hired people, and in agency law, the person you hire is considered an employee.
Oh, too funny. Yes, the law debates. Goodness, I love it. So what do you think about, and we're going a little over here. I got to, there's been some, like, I've been watching a little bit of the Buckeye Beat on this, and I love the Buckeye Beat. I actually love pretty much all of them, but I think they're very entertaining. But I've been hearing that some of them are just very angry because of the sign stealing, and sign stealing can lead to injuries for the other team.
Well, that's ridiculous.
Oh, thank you. I thought you were going to defend this, but yeah, I've been hearing this, like, in multiple sources, that Michigan is just, yeah. I mean, but in that case, then every team that steals signs is putting other teams at risk, right?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, that's just nonsense, not even worth discussing. It's just so obviously stupid.
okay, good.
I mean,
Darn
yeah,
it! I was hoping that you would actually disagree with me, so I
sorry,
could
anyone on
school
the
you.
Buckeye Beat who I know some people said that. I think I don't agree with that at all. I think it's complete garbage.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, we have our bet. So I think that we'll find out. Unfortunately, we're probably not going to find out until when. When is this going to get wrapped up? I mean, it's not going to be
Well,
even this season, is it? It's probably going to be
so
December or January.
if this comes out this week, then you're going to have 90 days for Michigan to reply, and then I'm not sure if there's a timeline. I'm guessing it's probably another 90 days for them to, up to 90 days for them to come up with the punishment after that. So I mean, we're looking at 180 days plus when the NOA is released.
Okay,
For maximum.
it's going to be a while.
Yeah, I mean,
the regular season is going to be over.
So I'm assuming, for instance, the Michigan will take the 90 days. The only way they wouldn't is if they could somehow, while they're doing their reply, they're probably going to also be working with the NCAA on what potential punishment they can work out between them. And it's possible that they could, get something done in 60 days, and then NCAA, I don't think that the NCAA is going to take too long to come out with a punishment after they get Michigan's response, because I think they're going to be probably working with Michigan while they're working on their response to the NOA in the first place. So I think it's going to be less than that. I mean, for me, like, the only real holdup here was whether or not the NOA would even come out this year. Like, I was thinking it might even take like another year, because the cheeseburger thing, how long ago was that? I mean, that was during COVID, and that just NOA for that just came out last season. So that was a really long wait. And this one, they said they were fast tracking it, and they weren't joking. I mean, it's been pretty quick.
Yeah, and I mean, if the only what's like a comparison as far as what the NCAA has done recently? Tennessee. Tennessee was hit. They weren't hit with a bowl ban. They did get hit with, I think, an $8 million fine, and
then they lost some scholarships.
They lost
like
some
28
scholarships,
scholarships.
but they did not.
But
get
then
a bowl ban.
Kentucky just got hit with with something big because they had some players that were ineligible though, so that's completely different.
Yeah,
But they just got
ineligible.
nailed. Yeah.
Did they? We'll have to read about that. But in the case of in Tennessee, I mean, they had hundreds of violations, literally hundreds of NCAA violations, and didn't get a postseason ban. And I'm wondering if that might be a thing of the past, unless someone does, unless it's eligibility.
Yeah, I think the thing that makes it really hard to determine here is because the NCAA has, been really weak lately, but the weakness has been in the NIL stuff. They haven't really been able to enforce that because of antitrust laws. So because of that, it's just been the wild, wild west, and people are, like Ohio State is spending what 20 million, I think is what the number. People were originally saying 34, but our new AD came out and said that we spent like 20 million this last year, which is actually pretty low compared to what they're going to be spending going forward. But I mean, it's not fair. Like, it wasn't meant to be. You pay a player, like we're paying Caleb Downs, and we're paying Judkins, and we're paying Will Howard to come here and to play at Ohio State. That's not how NIL was originally meant to be. It was supposed to be a player can pick whatever school they want, and then they can get an NIL opportunity based on their name, image, and likeness. It wasn't supposed to be pay for play, and that's what it's turned into. Like, fortunately for Ohio State and, Michigan eventually, has a ton of money too. So once they get their NIL rolling, Michigan's going to be a top 5 program for that as well after the penalties from all of this. But, I mean, the northern schools have a ton of money, and once they get it going, it's going to be, the southern schools are not going to be able to compete, in my opinion. They're just
I think they'll still find
these schools have so much money.
Everyone wants to go down south and out to California, so I think they'll still find a way to compete. But Antoine here, he's agreeing with me. Here's the punishment: some recruiting bans, and it doesn't mean anything anymore. Maybe a game off or 2 for the coach, and that's probably what I think it's going to be.
So you think it's gonna be that minor?
Right. I don't.
You don't think there's gonna be anything?
Yes, because Michigan they've already suspended Harbaugh. I think that is a really terrible.
So you're thinking that you think the level 1 violation against the school for pattern of non-compliance within the football program and institutional efforts. So what is institutional efforts? What does that sound like to you? Lack of institutional control, which is going to be what? Guaranteed.
I don't think those words were spoken though, but we'll find out. We'll find out. And Michigan will. I think the NCAA is going to come in, hit them as hard as they can, and then that's going to be brought down. That's going to be brought down in the negotiations. In Michigan's response, I just don't see. They don't have anything on anyone. I mean, as much as everyone wants to, is true as it is that Connor Stalions actually committed the crime, they don't have any evidence on anyone else, and Michigan did comply. It's just the other coaches did not give them their personal phones. They didn't give them their personal PCs. I don't think that is. I mean, if that's true, which I think it is, I don't think that's non-compliance. I think the university complied, and the NCAA is just a little bitter right now because they couldn't, because Harbaugh basically, they hated Harbaugh. They were coming at Harbaugh real hard. They didn't get him. He won the national title and then split. I think that the NCAA is feeling very miffed that they did not get their pound of flesh from Joe.
And you think they're going to let this slide?
I think the guy who they wanted to really brutalize is now beyond being, hit. So I think that's going to help. But again, it's Michigan. They may roll over and take a bowl ban. They may say, hey, we'll just give ourselves a bowl ban. You guys didn't even say anything about it. Because that wouldn't surprise me.
I think a 1-year bowl ban is probably worth it at this point. If you get one year bowl ban, that's like nothing. It won't even affect your recruiting. But a 2-year bowl ban, that would be a big deal.
Yes, you're right. Like, if Michigan really does think they're going to end up with a bowl ban, they need to do it this year because it won't affect recruiting. Everyone's already here. You can't transfer. Yeah.
That's why I was disagreeing with Antoine on appealing this thing, because if they can get this thing done and over with, it's not going to affect recruiting, and that's the main thing right now.
I don't think
your recruiting is really starting to pick up.
I think they should still fight it because they don't have any evidence on anyone. They got nothing.
Well, I mean, they're already saying level 1 violations here for the school.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. What evidence do they have against anyone? Name some
Well,
evidence
they have to
other
have
than
the evidence if they're gonna say that this is the violation. They're not just pulling it out of their ass. I mean,
they are
they have
pulling it out of their ass.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone. You are awesome. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. And we will talk to everyone later. Have a good night and go blue.
Go Bucks.